Mansell, resource manager with the city, and as a hydrologist, my entire career has been focused on water resources and sustainability. In all my roles, including the past 8.5 years with City of Sequim, I've sat on many committees and work groups that are tracking the conditions of the environment and also restoration and protection efforts. This particular annual report on the city's sustainability and resiliency initiatives in 2021 will be my last, as I will transition to semi-retirement later this year. Because of that, I feel an extra responsibility to share more of the information that I learn in the committees and work groups that I sit on, and the many emails about it that I get every day. But first, let's recall our increasingly common experiences with wildfire smoke and extreme heat in the summer, extreme cold in the winter, extreme storms, both of which we've experienced in the last couple weeks and couple months. And then one of my focus areas, snowpack drought, which affects the stream flows in the summer and the salmon trying to migrate, as well as groundwater conditions and the whole watershed, really. So these events directly impact our residents' health, their livelihood, and their ability to conduct business, in addition to the environmental impacts. As a scientist on the North Olympic Peninsula for over 30 years, I can say these are the expected impacts from a slowly changing climate, and we know more is coming. They are emergencies, and sometimes they're even declared disasters. Cities are the front line for these events and responding to these events, and they can be leaders in mitigating their impacts in the future.
Hello again. I hope you'll forgive that little bit of drama, but as you can tell, I'm serious about this business of addressing the impacts of a slowly changing climate. First, here is my favorite way to capture how the city generally responds to hazards and risks, listed on the left. And then standard city responses on the right. The point is that preparing and responding to climate change is not doing new things, but we do need to listen to the science and advisories coming from regional and state agencies about these risks on the left, and keep the flow lines open to stay on top of the needed planning and budgeting to implement plans. To get there, staff also takes direction from the 2012 resolution on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which lists many specific activities, and the 2016 resolution on improving sustainability and resiliency on more of a big picture level, looking at the comp plan and our master plans, and many of the plans listed in that last slide. So the reason for reporting out on 2021, what did we do? And I just want to have, I've got 3 quick slides that touch on some highlights. You guys have a handout that's got many details linked to your agenda cover. But in the arena of transportation and fuels, one exciting development in 21 is that we have a new truck that's powered by propane and used by our parks staff. And then, of course, we reduced many vehicle miles because of the online meetings that we're getting so good at. In the area of water, wastewater, and buildings, we have a master plan underway for the water system, and that will be looking at our water supplies as a whole and our water rights. And then on a watershed scale, the Water Resources Work Group is brand new, and it's coming out. It's a committee of the Dungeness River Management Team, which will be looking at the watershed wide well, the upper watershed where we've got our snowpacks and our our glaciers are shrinking, and what does that mean for the future of water for all of the uses down here in Sequim. The Dungeness Off-Channel Reservoir is a piece of that puzzle for sure, and it's exciting that that's underway. It's a county grant, but the city is on a work group that discusses the plans for that. If you're interested in knowing more about the reservoir, I'd be happy to share information with you. And there's a page on our website that you can go to find out a lot more too. The solar array that's on the Civic Center has now, in its lifetimes, offset more than 76 tons of CO2. And a bonus on that is that we every year avoid a certain amount of cost in electricity, so more than $4,000 in 2021. In the areas of waste and land use and community design, the city sits on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which adopted a solid waste and recycling management plan update, and that's about on a 5 or 6 year cycle, I believe. It's very forward thinking, and notably the food waste area is one that we could improve on, so that we're not sending food that could be used as a resource, paying to have it shipped and taken to a landfill in eastern Washington like the rest of our garbage. Our residents are getting better and better at using the Invoice Cloud. We have 45% of all receipts in 21 were done electronically. And let's see, a stormwater capture grant that is in the southwest part of the city. We're partnering with the county on that FEMA grant. And we partnered with community members on the conversations on diversity, equity, and inclusion in early 21 as well. Next steps. Staff, probably a task force or a small committee of folks could look at internal actions to improve sustainability, and then expand that effort to the staff as a whole and the community at large. Progressively. In particular, a couple of things going on. The North Olympic Development Council has a grant, and they are advising, they have consultants that are going to be assisting Port Angeles, Clallam County, and the Jamestown Tribe on their climate preparedness. And that work could certainly inform what we think about doing as well. And then, of course, this is not new ground that we're going to be covering. We can rely on what we can find from other jurisdictions. I know the city of Port Angeles did a greenhouse gas inventory and found that by far their fleet and their transportation emissions were the biggest chunk of their actions that they're going to try to mitigate. And let's see, prioritizing the actions once we have some listed. That's always a very important step and not easy. So that's next on the list. And of course, always ensuring that the annual budgets are adequate to conduct the measures. No reason that we can't get through numbers 3, 4, and 5 here. You can see that we haven't yet. But we're inching forward, and I think I'd be very interested in spending the rest of my time here helping with that effort. And thanks for listening. I'm going to send you off with one more last blast of inspiration from my time out on the river.
Cities are the front line in responding to these events, these emergencies, and they can be the front line when it comes to leadership and mitigating the impacts in the future. So the point of this soapbox oratory is to hopefully inspire leadership at the individual and institutional levels in hopes of protecting this for future generations. And I'm talking about the river, water, and unfortunately there's no snowpack visible today, but you've seen it before and you'll see it again. Let's hope. Thanks.
And I'll close with saying that I plan to be available for any questions or discussion that's desired on Monday night during the council meeting. Thanks for your attention.